Bennett. Normally, I don't listen to radio, but if I were to listen to radio, I listen to Citi FM because they are inspirational. Ghana, it looks like we've not identified who our enemy is. Our enemy is poverty. Our enemy is poverty. So what I learned when I listen to Citi FM is how do we galvanize our energies to address this issue of poverty. I thank you, Bernard. I thank you, Kojo, for inviting me. Now, last Thursday afternoon, I had a call from Kojo that I should speak on exporting for profit, the main thing being Operation Feed Yourself. Then I asked myself, what has Operation Feed Yourself got to do with exporting for profit? I'm not that old, but when the first Operation Feed Yourself program was launched, during late Achampon's era, Colonel Benasco, then the Minister of Agriculture, he was traveling across the country, urging us to plant to feed ourselves. He never mentioned exports. So I said, okay, I tried to think deep as to why they should add this aspect to Operation Feed Yourself. Then this morning I was reading my Bible. I went to Luke 4:4, when Jesus said, man shall not live by bread alone. It means that if you are fed, there's more to feeding. There's more to feeding in that now you need to buy a very good computer, you need to buy a very good phone and other things. We even need machinery to support our developmental efforts. So we need exports. We need foreign exchange to buy these items. Otherwise, the people will just get full and then they will start routing. After feeding me, what else? Another thing that came into mind was that this is in line with the president's policy of Ghana without aid. Now, if our benefactor, those who have been giving us the monies to support our budgets, national budgets, if they refuse to bring those monies, how are we going to fare as a nation? So obviously we need exports to be able to stand on our feet. Another thing that came into mind was that if you look at all the developed countries, exporting is their main strategy. Take Germany, the strongest economy in Europe. Their economy is driven by exports. Don't talk about China, the Koreans. Any other country that is serious about development thinks about export. So, Bernard, you are very apt in adding this to Operation Feed Yourself. Now, let's go to the presentation. First of all, I will talk about GEPA. What do we do? Ghana Export Promotion Authority, we are the National Trade Promotion Organization focus on promotion of non-traditional exports. We are in 8 of the regional capitals. We hope to extend to the other capitals. We were established by an Act of Parliament in 1969, and we are an agency under the Ministry of Trade and Industry. We have a staff strength of about 66 permanent and 40 contract workers. GEPA, yes, like I said, we operate in 8 regional offices. So we are to promote non-traditional, but these are the traditional exports: the timber, the gold, the raw cocoa beans, bauxite, diamond, and electricity. Most of these commodities are exhaustive. They are finite. There will be a time that there will be no more. I mean, it's finished. So we need to have alternatives. And the alternatives are the non-traditionals. We have 4 strategic areas or sectors that we look at. We have the agribusiness, the most diverse products. We have the manufacturing, that's the value-added section. They make about 50% of the total earnings of the NTEs. We also have industrial arts and crafts. They also form a formidable portion of our exports. And then we are now into services. Basically, we are looking at higher education. Recently, we had, we went to Lagos, visited so many universities, trying to woo them to come to Ghana for their higher education. We are also working with professional services who can be here and then they can be selling their services out there. We're also working with business processing outsourcing and then medical tourism. These are areas that we are focusing on for now. Yeah, the services that we provide. We do product development and supply-based expansion of export products. We also do market development and promotion of made in Ghana products and services on the export market. We give information to the exporter community. Information is very critical in making business decisions. We also have an in-house export school that we use to train exporters, will-be exporters and existing exporters. And then we sort of the focal point for consensus building on issues pertaining to exports, awareness creation, and others. The performance for 2018, we did 2.81 billion, representing a 10% increase as compared to the previous year of 2017. This outstanding performance is mainly due to about 43% increase in exports of cashew. That is from 262 million US dollars in 2017 to $378 million in 2018. You realize that between 2014 and 2015, there was a plateau. And it even dipped. I'm talking about our performance. It even dipped in 2016. We managed to grow it in 2017, and 2018 saw a better performance. Yeah, these are the 10 leading NT products. Cocoa paste, it contributed about 17.9%. Cocoa powder, 14.79%. Cashew did about 10%. Canned tuna did about 5.86%. And it follows. Cut fruits did about 2.22%. These are the 10 leading products. Then the destinations of our exports. European Union, was 41%. ECOWAS, 24%. Other African countries, we had 1.7%, and other developed countries, 7.52%, and other countries, 24%. And then we come to agri products. Obviously, cashew was the leading product. It did about 43.84%. Banana followed. No, that was growth. That was growth over the previous year. Cashew did 378 million. Banana did 85 million in 2018. Fresh or chilled tuna did 44 million. Mangoes did 2.9 million. Medicinal plants did 9.4 million. Pineapples did 9.2. It showed a depression of 48.75%. Yams did 8.6, and then rice, we were doing 4 million. So how do you become an agri produce exporter? You must first of all have a registered company. You have to register it with the Registrar General's Department, and then you come to GEPA to register with us for an export certificate. You also have to register with Plant Protection and Regulatory Services Division, Directorate of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. This is for sanitary and phytosanitary certification. Then, beyond that, there will be interactions between PPRSD and then the prospective exporter in terms of field inspections. They will come and take the coordinates of your plot and be visiting you as and when you do some of the agronomic practices that you are expected to do. Then they will come and pick samples from your farm 2 weeks before harvest for culturing to make sure that there are no eggs of insects hidden in the fruit or the vegetable. They will also inspect your pack houses, which is a requirement. And then through all these interactions, a traceability code will be generated for the exporter. Yes, exporters and their outgrowers will be required to input into the PPRSD net system data on application of farm management practices, such as planting, when you planted, when you applied the various pesticides, and the dosage that you use in the application. Yeah. In 2017, ITC did some work, and they evaluated Ghana's export potentials using current export performance and diversification assessment based on the target market demands or the world market demand, tariff conditions, and then our potential for production. I mean, the capacities that we have to produce such crops. So, on the top of the list is that cocoa beans. So, our export potential for cocoa bean is 4.1 billion. Currently, we are doing 2 billion. So, we have the capacity, we have the potential to add another 2 billion. When you take cocoa paste, the potential is 486. No, that is cashew. Cashew, the potential is 486 million. The world demand is 1.8 billion. And the untapped potential is 304 million. So it means we have space, we have the opportunity to add to what we are doing now. Unfortunately, the figures are very small, but I have them on the presentation, which you can go through when you receive them. So, what are the challenges to the delivery of agri exports? Sanitary and phytosanitary issues. Just yesterday, we had another regulation from the EU. I'm even yet to read that, on new requirements for exporting horticultural products. So the standards keep increasing. So that by itself is a challenge. We don't have large commercial farms. And if our farms are small, productivity becomes an issue. We have to leverage on commercial farming to be able to compete with other countries. That has resulted in supply side constraints. We are not able to supply the quantities that when we go out there, the people access for. We come and we are not able to mobilize enough volumes to meet demand. Access to and cost of credit has been a bane for exporters. And of course, high cost of input, poor infrastructure. These days, if you want to be, let's say, successful, you need to have irrigation. Basically, you have to have irrigation at your farm. A consultant came to visit us, and he visited some of the pineapple farms. To his surprise, there were no irrigation systems, and he was asking, how can you be that effective when you don't have irrigation, taking into account the current nature of our weather, the changing nature of our weather. And then pests and diseases such as fruit flies, BBS, false coloring moth. The Europeans don't want to see any of these pests in their country. Unfortunately, we have a lot of them here, and it's a problem getting over it. Our packaging, labeling, cost-effective shipping, and timely, safe transportation logistics. Some of these things, normally, most of the cargo that go to Europe, they go by the passenger airlines. Now, if you want your product to get to, let's say, UK in the next 8 hours, you don't if you're not lucky, it will have to transit somewhere. And during the transit period, anything at all can happen. It causes delay, it causes a whole lot of inconvenience. And then the issue of spraying with its attendant residual levels. These are all challenges that are hampering the expected growth of. So what are the other opportunities in the export sector? Infrastructure for food processing into concentrates and single strength for exports. Production and processing of cashew nuts, ground nuts, cola nuts, and others. These are all opportunities that we can look at. Dedicated vessels to directly transport fresh produce to main destination markets. Investors for cultivation of large horticultural plantations. I noted earlier, I informed you earlier on that most of our farms are very small in nature. Cocoa processing there's still space for processing of our cocoa. So it's an area that we can also look at. The rubber production in the country is also going up. So, and the world demand is also rising. It gives us an idea that growth there is possible. Plastics for domestic and export consumption. Most of our plastic exports go to the West African sub-region, and there's a huge market for that. And opportunities for the establishment of medical tourism center. Okay. Medical tourism, chocolate and others. Yes, there are also vehicles that we can use. Planting for food and jobs, planting for export and rural development are all vehicles that we can use. And recently we had a forum that helped us come up with an export development strategy. The document is with the Ministry of Trade, and hopefully when it gets cabinet assent, it will be made public and we will take it from there. So these are the areas that the strategy is looking at. Exports. So exports is a bit more complex than just selling on the local market. You need to do some work before you are able to. And then the question of certification. That is why it is important for you to get linked up to an exporter who has the certificates, the relevant certificates. What it means is that he's going to guide you, he's going to make sure that you produce according to the requirements of the market, what the certificate requires him to be doing. The same thing is you'll be doing on his farm. He will make sure you do same on your farm.